When we think of nutrition, we often think of food. And as soon as we talk about food and health, or food and healing, the first question that comes up is this particular food good for me? I hear this all the time, whether it's in the ER or whether it's in a talk, right? Is coffee good for me? Is eating an occasional donut really bad for me? Well, the truth is, when we think about food and good or bad, it's good to think about moderation and balance. We can find studies that say coffee is certainly good for us in some ways, and yet on the other hand, for some people, coffee can cause palpitations. Whether something is good or bad is not a black or white issue. It's about understanding yourself and what works for you in moderation. We know that food is a very personal issue, and the reason people go up and down with diets is partially because we try to make a drastic change in one fell swoop. And the other reason is because the change that works for one, the diet that works for one, might not work for another one. And so part of understanding nutrition, and particularly the food we eat, is understanding that we have to develop our own taste for what works for us. So what are these two basic rules? One is eat more fresh vegetables and fruits. And the corollary of that, the second, is to eat fewer processed foods. If we eat more fresh vegetables and fruits, and if we eat fewer processed foods, this is going to lead to better health. In fact, when we look at many of the chronic conditions we see today, like hypertension and diabetes and inflammatory conditions, we can see that all of these can be positively affected by eating the right foods. Which particular food, which vegetables, which fruits, which other foods we might eat depends person to person. So this is where developing our own taste becomes important. Usually, the vegetables and fruits we have are combined with sauces, right? Combined with other flavorings that are high in salt or sugar, or both. And because of this, the natural taste of these vegetables and fruits are covered up. And what happens is we develop a secondary kind of taste for the additives. So part of this process of nutrition is honing our awareness of the actual taste for the vegetables and fruits that we're eating. In addition to thinking about nutrition as food, we can also think about it as the food of our environment, right? Or how our environment is nourishing us. Think about in urban planning and in architecture, there's this phrase, the built environment. And this phrase, the built environment, refers to the knowledge that the environment around us that we build is in a way imbued with our ideas, imbued with our behaviors, imbued with our feelings. So the question is, how is our built environment right now nourishing us? When we walk into a room, how does the very structure of the room or the place itself make us feel? Nourishment and nutrition in this case is putting ourselves in the places that are nourishing to us. And finally, even the ideas that are surrounding us, the conversations that we are part of, right? What kind of ideas are we taking in through media, through conversation, through reading books? All of this is in a way nourishing us. By paying attention to these areas of our lives, what we are doing is making nutrition work for us. This process of nutrition is always working, whether we realize it or not, whether we choose it or not. When we bring our awareness to this process, and when we make choices to direct this process, we are starting to build a strong foundation for health and healing.